Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special edition episode of the AI Educator from EdSafe AI. In this episode, we're highlighting AI enthusiasts from our Policy Lab network to not only answer three questions, but also share a snippet of their work implementing safe AI policies and practices within their district. I'm your host, Andrea Claver, Project Manager for EdSafe AI. And today we are thrilled to be joined by Dr. Kristin Moon, Director of Teaching Professional Learning, and Melissa Lim, Learning Technologies Program Administrator at Portland Public Schools. Thank you so much for joining us today, Kristin and Melissa.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so Melissa, let's start out just by setting some context for our listeners. We've been working together pretty closely since August 2025, and you have been working within your district on an AI guidebook within Portland Public Schools. So, could you tell us a little bit about that work that happened this year to release that guidebook? How did it start? What steps did you take to get here?
Sure. So prior to restarting our district AI work this school year, I had drafted an AI guidebook based on information from our State Department of Education, as well as some surrounding districts in the Portland area. And so looking at those materials, I was able to decide on sections that I thought would be important for our own guidebook. And I did use I got the help of AI to help draft what those sections could look like and what information should be in those sections. And then once I got a draft going based on what I knew that we wanted in our district and what some other districts had included in their guidance already, had a draft and then was just sort of waiting for the right time when we could look at that draft with our planning groups and our different AI committees to start giving feedback on that draft and then figuring out how we wanted to roll it out. And so it was initially drafted and ready to go, but then we really needed to get other stakeholders from the district involved and then go through a really rigorous review process with feedback.
Wonderful. I love the accountability you're taking here to naming, I used AI as a tool to help with kind of the initial pieces, but then also highlighting the community in that where you call out, I saw what some other districts were doing in the pieces that applied to us. Like it really sounds like you moved with intention there and just waited for that right time where people in the district were ready to do this work with you. Could you maybe expand upon some of the stakeholders that you included in the revision process?
Yeah, so we ended up starting, I think I just said we started our AI work again this year after a brief pause. And so we have three different work groups, a planning committee, which is really the policy and governance group that includes stakeholders from IT as well as academics. And then we have an advisory group, which includes more people, so community, building administrators, some more central office people. And then we have a third group, which is only educators, that is our feedback group. And so we hope to utilize that third group more next year when we're looking at the app vetting process.
Awesome. Thank you, Melissa. I'm going to turn it over to Kristin here. Kristin, with this new guidebook, how do you envision it supporting the district in safe and effective use of AI moving forward?
I appreciate the question, Andrea. I think one of the things when thinking about our guidebook and its use is that, um, there's been a lot of great policy guidance put out into space. We have some great guidance from our Oregon Department of Education. We've looked nationally at what's happening. But what that policy is sometimes hard to do is to translate it into what it actually means and looks like for our different stakeholders, for our parents, for our administrators, for our students, for the community to understand what we're doing. And in this guidebook, it's the piece around it is to actually start having people have a better idea of what it means in practice. What are those expectations? How are we going to do that? And it's not only like the pieces of how do we be safe, right? Like how do we do safety? How do we do literacy? But how are we going to make decisions about how we're moving forward with that? And what does that look like for our students and our responsibility there to do that? I think one of the pieces around the guidebook is using that as our central place to like as we're making decisions. What we know is AI is rapidly evolving. Application of it is rapidly changing and our understanding is becoming greater. And so how do we use that guidebook as that place to come back and center ourselves in the decision making we have to do? Not only around apps, right? But what does it look like to integrate AI literacy into instruction? What does it look like to integrate AI use into instruction? What does it mean for our parents to be prepared for that? What does it mean for our kindergartners for an AI future, right? Like those kinds of things are mind-boggling, but how can we use that guidebook to continue to be that center of what we're trying to do? And also that piece that our guidebook calls out that we haven't seen so much in other guidebooks from across the country is we really work to center the human in our AI work and how AI without that human-centered piece is not okay in our district. And so how do we continue to think about both of those pieces moving forward in our work as we do this?
That is an incredible path forward. Like you said, setting that guidebook as the central location. It is the place where all stakeholders can go to learn more about how it's being used. But I definitely saw that shine through in the guidebook, that human piece. And I love that you've added actionable pieces to it. So, as a teacher or a community member, like you said, it's not just here's what I can and can't do, but there's actually some pieces I can take and build on in my practice. So, I really appreciate it. And I appreciate all of the pieces you've added in there. Is there any additional information you'd like to add about the guidebook that you'd encourage other educators or school districts to do when they're kind of looking at their own guidelines?
I think one of the things that we really considered as we were doing this is when we're talking about AI policy, right, we have to think about what are our board policies, what are our administrative directives, and the time it takes to change those things, right? And so, how do we set those up to support what we're doing with AI? But that as AI is evolving and rapidly changing, right, we're not having to continually go back through a very lengthy process. So, what we've tried to do is set up our guidebook to be the place for that rapid iteration and clearly communicate that so that we can stay up to date and aware of what is happening and make changes as we need to, as we understand better, as um, I'm sure other people are experiencing this, but different ed tech apps and companies are suddenly launching AI in their app and sometimes not really notifying us, and then we're having to make decisions about that. So, how do we use that guidebook for that rapid iteration around our policy, our practices, and our application? Melissa, what more would you like to add to that?
I would agree with that. I wanted to make sure that we did give executive leadership, cabinet level leadership a chance to review the guidebook as well. And of course, our legal department reviewed it, and that this is a living document that we will always be going back to on a regular basis. So that includes feedback from community, educators, staff, so we can make those changes like Kristin was just talking about, the iterative pieces process.
Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing the story of the guidebook and how it will continue past this initial implementation to be that living document that your entire district can go to get the information they need, especially as you continue to build upon it. So, in the spirit of the AI educator, let's go ahead and dive into our rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's
Ready?
go.
Okay, here we go. So, Kristin, what's one thing that excites you most about the future of AI in education?
I, you know, I think what I'm going to say might surprise people, but what really excites me the most about the future in AI in education is it's the opportunity for educators to take control of the narrative and the craft of what it looks like to be a K-12 educator. I think for a period of time, we may have experienced so many well-meaning, well-intentioned community groups, ed tech partners, those people really saying, here's the solution. But I think AI is really giving us the opportunity to say, hey, this is actually what it looks like, and this is what we can do, and really highlight the amazingness that makes our educators so incredible, which is how they infuse, how they teach students, how we are preparing students to be ready for an AI future, and really what that looks like. I think also this is an opportunity to really come together across like every single department, role, person in our community around AI. That AI is not going to, everybody's going to be touched by this. So it's really this unifying piece that we all have to be working through together, not only personally, but professionally as well. And I'm really excited for what that looks like.
Awesome. Melissa?
So one thing that excites me, when I use a new technology, I often use it for personal reasons first, just so I can relate it to something that I'm interested in, and that helps me connect it to work things and professional things. And so I've been doing a lot of, I hate the term vibe coding, but I've been using AI to do a lot of that to just meet different needs in terms of create this website that has interactive pieces for summarizing this book. So maybe I'm using it for something like that. And then that sort of triggers, oh, I could use, triggers a connection to my work. Like I could use that for this activity for when we're doing a professional learning session. So I'm just really excited about all of the automations and things that I'm figuring out that it can do. Um, and that I can relate it to my work to help me save time.
Yeah, absolutely. And take like really enhance the things that you're putting out there. Like you said, having an activity embedded in your lesson or your professional development session used to be something that would take so long that oftentimes it was like, I don't actually have the time to develop this. And now you just kind of can do it pretty quick with a lot of the tools that are out there. So thank you both for sharing that response. I'm going to keep us moving here by moving into question number two. Um, One that is pretty commonly asked, but an important one. What's the biggest misconception you hear about the safe and responsible use of AI in schools? We'll start with Kristin.
The biggest, man, it's hard to come down on one, but I think one of the biggest misconceptions I am hearing about safe and responsible use of AI in schools is actually the idea that as we're wrestling with not only our personal use of AI, we are also wrestling with our professional responsibility. And I think one of the largest misconceptions is that as teachers, as educators, we have a choice rather than a responsibility to ensure that our students know how to be safe and responsible with AI, and that in that responsibility, there are like relatively low lift ways that we can go about doing it. That doesn't necessarily mean we have to rethink everything that we're doing. And I think sometimes people are hearing these pieces around like AI is revolutionizing all of these pieces, right? It's going to change this. Do we need teachers in the future? Those parts. And I think that in hearing those big ideas, we forget that there's actually just small little things that we can be doing that moves us towards um, more safe and responsible use of AI in our schools. Melissa, what would you
Absolutely.
add?
Go ahead, Melissa.
I agree with everything Kristin just said. And I was trying to think of what would I say the biggest misconception. I mean, I think maybe it's just in general what is AI and what I've heard people say. and what they understand it to be. And so then when we start talking about it's really just a series of patterns that a machine recognizes, and it's not a real person, even though it seems like it is. It's like always remembering that human part and not anthropomorphizing. Am I saying that
You
right?
got it. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that.
Okay, awesome. I love both of your points there, Kristen. Often people hear about new technology, and you're right. It's like, oh, it's going to change everything. But really, AI can be that tool that enhances certain areas. We can apply it in small ways that really support the work. And I always like to say, I know people say AI is a time saver. I like to think of it as more of like a time shifter, because while you'll save time in one area for teachers, that can give you more time to spend with students to do the human elements of the work. Like Melissa said, really keeping that human in the loop. But also, Melissa, to your point, building the AI literacy to really clarify like what is AI can clear up most of the misconceptions we hear, because there's a lot of clickbait out there, a lot of scary stories that aren't always grounded in fact, or maybe just tell one side of the story. So increasing that AI literacy is huge as well. I'm going to round us out here with my personal favorite question. What is a message you would share with a teacher or a school leader who's feeling overwhelmed by the rapid pace of AI development?
I'm glad you asked just like small, easy questions.
Not loaded at all.
Not loaded at all, not tons of pressure. I think the message I would share with a teacher or school leader is just a reminder that one, um, like you know students and the craft of teaching and learning better than anybody else out there, and not to have the rapid pace of AI development or the narrative that's happening around how this is going to change everything really shake your belief in who you are and what you know and believe to be about good teaching and learning. And then with that, I just really recommend like what's your first little like big toe dip in there? And don't feel like you have to go faster than what that big toe dip is. You know, treat it like the very cold bucket of water or body of water you're going to be going into. And think about what's your first piece to try out and try that out. And then what's your next piece you're going to do and take off those bite-sized actionable pieces. Try not to go too big with it. It's those little small changes that are going to add up to big impact rather than trying to go for a big change and have a big splashy impact.
I would say I would tell someone along the same lines of what Kristin just said and what I had said earlier is connect it to something personal and remember to chunk it out into small parts where you're not feeling overwhelmed. I think that makes things a lot easier. And then the other thing is to surround yourself with a personal and professional network of people that can help you. I think that's always really helpful. So whether you're on social media or even in-person meetings or meetups, is to surround yourself with other people that where you can learn together.
I'll take that as Portland's kind of mic drop moment. Great insights from you both. Thank you so much for sharing. Listeners, there you have it. Three quick questions and a wealth of information from Portland Public Schools, a member of our Policy Lab cohort. You can view their newly released guidebook on aipolicylab.org, and we will also drop that link in the show notes as well. Stay tuned for our next episode where we'll put another AI enthusiast in the hot seat.